After the family reunion, I checked my account. Everything was gone. My brother-in-law scoffed, saying, "We needed it more than you." Shaking with anger, I grabbed my bag and told him, "Then you won't mind what's coming next." As they all laughed, a loud crash echoed through the house. The door slammed open, and Caleb, beer in hand, and that smug grin of his plastered on his face, leaned against the fridge. "You're seriously upset about this," he said, looking completely unfazed. "Relax. We needed it more than you." I blinked, my thumb hovering over the refresh button on my banking app. I had pressed it 3 times already, but the balance still hadn't changed. For $87, that couldn't be right. Just yesterday, I had over $14,000. 14,000. My voice cracked slightly as I spoke. "You what?" From the couch, my sister Nina let out a laugh. She was curled up comfortably, sipping wine, completely unbothered, as if this was just another night of family game night. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she said casually. "It's not like we stole it. We're family." "You drained my account." I shot back. "It's not draining if we're going to pay it back." Caleb chimed in with a shrug. "Eventually." I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. I glanced over at Mom, sitting across the room, knitting away without a care. She didn't even look up. "Mom," I said, raising my voice slightly. She sighed like I'd just accused her of ruining the family dinner. "Sweetheart, you're always so sensitive. You've got a good job, no mortgage, no kids, you live on your own, you're fine. So that justifies stealing from me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Language, Logan," Dad muttered, not even looking up from his phone. I turned back to Nina. "How did you even get access to my account?" She shrugged, completely unapologetic. "You left your info on the family computer. Maybe next time, don't log in and just walk away." "Honestly, it's your own fault," she added. My jaw clenched, my fists tightening. "My own fault." I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. "You're making a bigger deal out of this than it really is," Caleb said, as if I were overreacting. "It's not like we spent it on nonsense. We paid rent, bought groceries, survived." "You didn't ask," I shot back. "We didn't think we had to," Nina snapped. "You've been paying for stuff for years. What's the difference if it comes from you or through you?" Slowly, I picked up my bag. No one moved, no one apologized, no one even seemed surprised. "Leaving already?" Mom asked, her voice almost nonchalant. "Yup," I said, zipping up my coat. "But don't worry, I'll be in touch," I added. "Don't be like that," Nina said, rolling her eyes. "We needed it more than you. That's just facts." I reached for the doorknob, then paused. "Then you won't mind what's coming next," I said. They laughed. But outside, something had already begun. "You always helped. That's what you're for, right?" It was my cousin Miles, jogging up behind me as I stormed toward my car, fist clenched and jaw set. "No," I muttered, flinging the car door open. "I heard what Nina said," Miles said carefully. "That wasn't right." I didn't answer, because if I did, I'd scream. The truth was, this wasn't the first time. For years, I'd been the responsible one, the one with the stable job, the one who didn't need help. Somehow, that had turned me into the family's personal wallet. It started small. Nina once forgot to pay her phone bill. I covered it. Then Caleb lost his job and asked to borrow a little something to get by for the month. And then there was the birthday gift for their daughter. I offered to pay, but instead, they just assumed I would. And every time, it was like they were entitled to it. "You're lucky, Logan," Mom would say, her voice sweet but cutting. "You don't have the struggles Nina does. God gave you ease so you could share it. Family means supporting each other." Dad would chime in more than once. "You wouldn't be here if it weren't for us." Translation? "We gave you life, now give us your paycheck." I never asked for anything in return. Not when I was laid off for 6 months and lived off rice and eggs. Not when I skipped vacations for 3 years just to rebuild my savings. Not even when I helped pay off Nina and Caleb's credit card debt 2 years ago. They never paid me back. Never even said thank you. "Are you still coming to the family reunion?" Nina had asked last week. "Yeah," I had replied. "Should I bring anything?" Her answer was quick. "Just bring yourself and your card." I thought she was joking. Turns out, she wasn't. 2 days after everything went down, Nina called me. I didn't answer. She called again and again. Then Caleb texted, "Just call her. Man, she's freaking out." I finally picked up on the 5th try. "Logan," Nina started, her voice quiet and shaky. "We have a problem." "Oh, we do," I replied coldly. "Look, don't be like that." Something shifted in the air. I stayed quiet, letting the silence stretch between us. She kept going. "The power company came today. Nina said, her voice tight. We're behind on the bill. Way behind. And they're threatening to cut it off if we don't pay by Monday. I didn't react. So, I said flatly. She paused, gathering her words. So, we need your help. A bitter laugh slipped from my throat. It was short, harsh. You drained my savings, and now you're asking for more? It wasn't just for us, she snapped. We used some of it to help Mom and Dad too. Remember when Dad's car broke down last month? I hadn't been told about that. You never mention anything unless it's an emergency, she fired back. Nina, I said flatly. This isn't just messed up, it's criminal. You're being dramatic, she countered. It's family. You didn't ask me first, I said. You just took. We didn't think you'd mind, she replied, her tone dismissive. You've always helped. That's what you think I'm for, isn't it? I said, my voice quieter than before, but the meaning still cutting through. That night, sleep evaded me. I spent hours tossing and turning, replaying every moment over the last 5 years, the favors, the small transfers. The way Mom always told me I was the strong one. The way Nina would roll her eyes if I hesitated for even a second. They didn't see me as a brother, or a son, or even a person, just a resource. 3 days later, Mom called. We need to talk, she said, her voice calm but firm. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask about my job. She didn't even acknowledge the missing money. We're planning a family dinner, she continued. Just us, come over tonight. My stomach dropped. What's this really about? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Logan, she said quietly, you've caused a lot of tension. I've caused tension? I repeated, incredulous. Still, I went. Part of me was hoping for answers. Another part just wanted to see if they'd even pretend to be sorry. They didn't. When I walked in, Nina was already there, arms crossed. Caleb sat beside her, looking disinterested, as if this was some trivial matter. Mom was in the kitchen, and Dad was flipping through the mail as if everything were normal. So, Nina said, breaking the silence as I took my seat. Are we going to act like adults here, or what? It depends, I replied, keeping my voice calm. You ready to confess to felony theft? God, you're so extra, she scoffed. It wasn't theft, it was family money. You always help. We needed it. Caleb nodded. You can spare it. So why the drama? I didn't give permission, I said, voice low but firm. You didn't say no either, Nina retorted, rolling her eyes. Details. I turned to Mom, the frustration building. And you're just okay with all this? I asked, my voice sharp. She avoided my gaze, looking away. We all agreed. You've always been the one who could handle it. No one even thought to ask, I said, feeling the weight of their betrayal. We trusted you, Dad chimed in, his voice steady but distant. We trusted you to do what's right. I stood up, my hands clenched into fists. And what's right? Letting you steal from me while you smile in my face. Stop saying steal, Nina shouted, her face flushed with anger. It was for the family. Then you won't mind when the family deals with the consequences, I said, my voice cold. What does that mean? Caleb asked, narrowing his eyes. I didn't answer right away, not yet. You don't get to cry now, I muttered. When I stepped inside the house, everyone was already there. Mom was clinking plates together in the kitchen, making the noise seem louder than necessary. Dad sat on the couch, flipping through channels like it was a regular Thursday night. Nina stood by the window, arms crossed, her jaw tight with frustration. Caleb was lounging at the end of the table, looking as though he was about to watch a game, completely oblivious to the consequences of draining someone's life savings. Well, look who showed up, Nina said dryly as I dropped my bag near the door without saying a word. Let's just get this over with, I muttered. Good, Caleb grinned. Maybe we can finally stop pretending you were robbed. I was robbed, I shot back, sitting down. That was the cue. Mom cleared her throat, looking uneasy. Logan, we know you're upset, but you have to understand, we were struggling. We didn't have any other options, she continued, her voice a little softer. Nina and Caleb, they were drowning. And you, Dad added. You've always been the stable one. We knew we could count on you. You didn't ask, I said, my voice cold and distant. You took. That's not family. I added, the words hitting harder than I expected. That's theft. Nina rolled her eyes, clearly irritated. You're being so dramatic. We didn't spend it on nonsense. We used it where it mattered. I reached into my bag, pulled out a printed spreadsheet, and slammed it onto the table. $1 for $72 on makeup, $900 on takeout, $2,300 to pay off your car loan. Caleb's face darkened as he leaned forward. You went through our accounts? Oh, I did more than that, I said, pulling out my laptop. The screen lit up with a neat, color-coded breakdown of every charge, every transfer, all traceable. I compiled every transaction, I said, my fingers hovering over the keys. I filed a fraud report. Nina's eyes went wide. You didn't. I did, I confirmed. You called the police? She shrieked, her voice rising in panic. I turned to Mom. Still think this is just family business? This is insane, Dad snapped, his voice rising in disbelief. You want to put your own sister in jail? You put yourself there, I replied coldly. Then, there came the knock, 3 sharp, heavy pounds against the door. Nina went pale. Caleb shot up from his seat too quickly. Mom gasped and took a step back. Dad froze in place. Open up, a voice shouted. Financial Crimes Unit. Knock, knock, knock. Caleb turned to me, voice low, as the realization hit. Logan, tell me you're not serious. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the door. 3 agents stepped inside, their jackets marked with bold letters. One held a clipboard, another a tablet, and the third took in the room, scanning everyone in sight. You Logan Carver? One of them asked. Yes, I replied. Thank you for your cooperation, the agent said, nodding. We'll take it from here. Mom covered her mouth in disbelief. Nina collapsed into a chair, as if her legs had given out beneath her. Caleb stood frozen, staring, unable to comprehend what was happening. The lead agent turned toward them. You're listed as parties of interest in an ongoing investigation into financial fraud and identity theft. Identity theft? Mom cried, her voice cracking. He's our son. The agent didn't flinch. Family ties don't make illegal activity legal, ma'am. We didn't steal anything. Nina shouted, panicked. We had a right. He always helped us. He always. Thinking you're entitled to someone's money doesn't make it yours, another agent said calmly. Please remain seated. I stood back and watched, my emotions a tangled mess of disbelief and strange relief. For the first time in my life, they didn't interrupt me, they didn't mock me, they didn't laugh. Mom turned to me, her voice shaking and her eyes brimming with tears. Logan, please, we didn't mean to hurt you. We were just desperate. You've always been the strong one. You're the only one we could count on. I stared her down. Unblinking, you don't get to cry now. She covered her mouth and began sobbing, her body trembling. Nina tried to speak, but no words came out. Caleb looked ready to bolt, but sat back down, shrinking under the weight of the agent's gaze. You want to talk about what family is? I said, stepping forward. It's trust, it's respect, it's asking, not assuming, not stealing, not laughing while you bleed me dry. They remained silent, every one of them shrinking under the force of my words. I picked up my bag from the floor and turned toward the lead agent. I'll be outside. This time, they didn't try to stop me. You're free now, Logan, don't go back, the agent said, giving me a final look as I stepped out the door. I left without a word. No one chased me. No one called my name. For once, there was no guilt, no drama, no Nina shrieking at me with her usual, how could you? Just the cold night air and the sound of tires crunching behind me as the investigators escorted them out. One by one, I didn't stay to watch. That night, I drove with no destination in mind. Past empty coffee shops and brightly lit gas stations, my phone buzzing nonstop in the passenger seat. I didn't answer a single call. I didn't want to hear apologies dressed up as excuses. By midnight, I found myself parked outside the only place that had ever felt like home. My grandmother's old house. She'd passed away a few years ago, but I still had the key. She used to say, if they ever turn on you, Logan, you come here. The door will always open for you. And that night, it did. I slept for 11 hours straight, no texts, no guilt, no tension weighing down on me like it always had when I stayed near my family. When I woke up, I made coffee in a chipped mug and stood by the window, watching the sun slowly creep over the fence she used to garden behind. For the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. But the silence didn't last. The first email came that afternoon from Dad. This has gone too far. You've humiliated the entire family. What happened to loyalty? I didn't reply. Then Nina texted, I hope you're happy. They're freezing my accounts. Caleb's being investigated at work. You ruined our lives over a couple of payments. A couple. I muttered, feeling the weight of the absurdity. Try tens of thousands of dollars. Try 5 years of silent sacrifice. Then came a voicemail from Mom. Her voice was soft, cracking with emotion. You didn't have to do it this way. We could have handled it like a family. Logan, sweetheart, please. They're threatening charges. They said we might lose the house. I replayed that line in my head. They might lose the house. And suddenly, I wasn't angry. I wasn't seeking revenge. I just didn't care. Because, deep down, I'd already lost a home, years ago, when they decided I was worth more as a bank account than a son. 2 days passed, then, an unexpected message came from Caleb's brother. We weren't close. Maybe said 5 words to each other at birthdays, but his text was simple. Just so you know, Nina's trying to shift blame on you. Says you knew and approved the money transfers. There's a lawyer involved. Watch your back. I almost laughed. Even now, even with everything falling apart, she was still trying to twist things. That night, I called my lawyer. Send everything, I said, my tone cold. We're not just pressing charges. I want a restraining order too. But not all the messages were hostile. A week later, I received a short email from Tessa, Caleb's sister. I know we haven't spoken in years, but I just wanted to say you were right about all of it, about how they treat you, about how toxic it's gotten. I used to think you were just cold. Now, I think you were brave. I stared at her message for a long time. Brave. No one in my family had ever used that word to describe me. One morning, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost declined it. But something told me to pick up. Logan. Her voice was small. Hoarse. It's Nina. I didn't say anything. She kept talking. Look, I know I messed up. Okay. I went too far. I didn't think it would go like this. Caleb's been suspended. Mom won't stop crying. Dad won't even speak to me. And you. She hesitated, then let out a shaky breath. You always had the power to ruin everything, and you finally did. I didn't speak for a long moment. Then, flatly, I said, I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped letting you walk over me. Silence on the other end of the line. Can you just stop it now? Drop the charges, please. I'll do anything. Just make it stop. I almost felt something, almost. But then I remembered her words from the night of the reunion. We needed it more than you. I smiled bitterly. No, I said, you made this mess. You live in it. And then I hung up. That night, I cooked myself a quiet dinner, played my favorite college album, sat on the porch with a mug of coffee, watching the world pass by. For the first time since I was a teenager, no one asked me for money. No one guilt-tripped me. No one made me feel like I was only valuable if I was giving something. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I was just me, and that was enough. I'm not your bank. I'm not your backup plan. I'm done. It's strange how quiet peace is. No one tells you that. You imagine it'll feel like fireworks or loud music, some grand celebration. But for me, peace sounded like no one asking for money. No one calling me selfish. No one sending long texts with "since you're the only one doing well." Just silence. Glorious, uninterrupted silence. 3 months passed since the night I blew everything up. 3 months since the investigation started. Since my family stared at me in shock as agents walked through their front door, and reality punched through years of delusion. They say you can't choose your family. Maybe that's true, but you can choose how much of yourself you're willing to lose trying to keep them happy. And I was done losing. The fallout came fast. Nina and Caleb tried damage control first. A lawyer emailed my attorney, offering to privately resolve the situation. No apology, no ownership, just damage control. I told my lawyer, let it burn. A week later, Mom sent me a letter, 10 pages, her handwriting still neat but trembling in parts. She wrote about how things got out of hand, how they never meant to hurt me, how she hoped I could see the bigger picture. We just assumed you'd always be there, she wrote. That's what good sons do. That line stuck with me, because it said everything. Not, we were wrong, not, you didn't deserve that. Just, you were supposed to stay quiet and keep giving. I didn't write back. I didn't call, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I moved, new apartment, new state, no more surprise drop-ins from relatives, no more unannounced visits from Nina. I even changed my number. My boss, noticing how focused I'd become, offered me a promotion. I took it. It's funny how much better you perform at work when you're not secretly juggling your sister's car payments and your mom's overdue utility bills behind the scenes. I sleep better now. I eat better. I breathe better. Because I'm no longer carrying 4 people on my back who refuse to say thank you. Then, one morning, a letter showed up, no return address. Inside, there was a check for $1,200 and a handwritten note. I left him. You were right. I was scared. But watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This is for everything you paid for. Lena, the tablet, the rent, the clothes. I know Caleb never thanked you, but I am. Thank you for being the example I needed. Tessa, I read it twice. Then I cried, not out of sadness, not out of pain, but because, for the first time, someone in that family saw me not as a wallet, not as a scapegoat, but as a person. People ask me sometimes, do you regret it? And the answer is simple. No. I regret waiting so long. I regret every sleepless night, every canceled vacation, every tight budget I lived under while they dined out, shopped, and posted about grateful family vibes on Instagram. I regret the way I made myself small so they could feel big. I regret all the times I stayed silent when I should have said, "You're crossing a line." But do I regret standing up? Burning it down? Never. My therapist once asked me, "Why did it take you so long to say no?" And I said, "Because I thought that saying no meant I didn't love them." She nodded and said, "Saying no is how you teach people to love you back." I've never forgotten that. A few days ago, I ran into someone from high school. She said, "Hey, I saw what happened with your family. That's wild." I expected judgment or pity, but instead, she smiled and added, "Good for you. Most people never get out." I thanked her. Then I walked away feeling a little taller. Nina and Caleb are still under investigation. Last I heard, Caleb's lost his job. Nina's bank account was frozen. Mom's trying to refinance the house, and Dad's apparently blaming outside influence for tearing the family apart. They still don't get it. I didn't tear anything apart. I just stopped pretending the pieces were still whole. Sometimes I get flashbacks that night. The table, Nina laughing as I checked my account, Caleb grinning like it was a joke. Mom brushing it off. "You don't need that money," she said. And now? Now they know the truth. That money wasn't just money, it was my life, my time, my health, my boundaries, and they crossed them for years like it meant nothing. Now they pay the price. I don't celebrate their downfall, but I celebrate myself. For surviving it, for walking away, for not going back, even when the silence felt lonely, even when the guilt whispered in my ear like it used to. Because that silence? It's freedom. So if you're reading this, and you've been the strong one, the responsible one, the good son or good daughter who's expected to pay and never say a word, let me tell you what I wish someone told me. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to walk away. And when you do, you don't lose a family. You find yourself.